well, to discuss all of these issues, I'm joined in the studio now by our Thursday political panel, the Shadow Finance Minister, Katy Gallagher, and Liberal Senator Hollie Hughes. Thank you for your time.
Good afternoon.
Katy Gallagher, I'm very sorry that you did not get the memo about our matching names today. Just wanted to identify this wasn't planned.
Was not a, get together at all and pick the same outfit.
It wasn't at all, but I wanted to start with you. There is the budget in reply tonight. I wanted your response to Simon Birmingham's accusation there. It is fairly true that Labor has run a smaller target sort of campaign up until now, but do you just have a blank sheet of paper to offer the Australian public?
No, I wouldn't agree with Simon's characterisation there. And in fact, I wouldn't agree that we're running a small target campaign either. We've released a lot of policy. I mean, I'm involved in ticking off every single one of them. But we've got, childcare, we've got our cheaper and power plans, we've got housing policies, we've got First Nations policies, policies for women. And when we release them, we release the costings of those. And of course, they'll all get reconciled at the end of the campaign. But, we've got significant policy out there and we've got more to come. And Anthony will have some more to outline tonight in his budget reply.
Expecting another policy announcement tonight?
Well, I don't want to get above my pay grade, Jane, but, there's a half an hour opportunity. Anthony will be outlining his vision for the future, as Jim said. It'll be about the type of Prime Minister he will be, and I would expect a couple of other matters to be raised in there, but we'll wait to see. 7:30, tune in.
Well, you are the Shadow Finance Minister, and as we head into this election, what is perhaps unique as opposed to previous years is that the economic offerings, the tax offerings of both parties are relatively similar. It's certainly not as big a contrast as there was back in 2019. So I suppose when we're talking about small target, there are a few obviously big policy differences, but when it comes to tax economics, the differences aren't that great.
Well, again, I'm not sure I would agree. I mean, we've got the campaign to run, so obviously we've got a fair bit more in the bag that we'll be rolling out. But I think you will see a different plan for the future. Things like a National Anti-Corruption Commission, integrity in politics. We'll be rolling out other commitments around the country. There is quite a lot of detail to come, but absolutely, this election is, on our doorstep. I mean, we're all here in estimates kind of waiting to get out and get on with it, but there's a lot more to go.
All right, well, Hollie Hughes, I wanted to ask you, your government's budget has been handed down this week. Labor matched the $8.5 billion, well, not matched, it supported the $8.5 billion cost of living package. It's been a long week.
It has been a long week.
I suppose we've talked a lot about how high the stakes are with this budget. I'm wondering, has this been enough to really turn the coalition's political fortunes around? Does it give you something to campaign on?
Look, I think this budget has been incredibly well received because it's real Australians out there who are experiencing cost of living pressures, and we recognise that. Cost of living pressures, though, at the moment are really being created by a lot of international factors. So whether it's our supply chain and the fact that we couldn't get ships and planes to deliver the goods that we normally do, but also send out of the country. But of course, with the war in Ukraine, you've got the pressure around fuel prices, which of course, with the reduction in the fuel excise levy, will save the average family over $30 a week when they start to fill up the tank with that reduction in excise levy for 6 months. It's interesting to say Katy's putting out a lot of policies and these things are happening. We, as someone who is, put the budget out, are pleased to see that Labor's walked away from spending $6 billion on paying people to get the jab when they'd already done that. I noticed that Jim Chalmers was walking very quickly away this week of the demands of free rat tests for all, which was, again, another incredibly expensive program that is really not required. The problem with Labor is they just want to spend and they have no way to see the end of that spending. We are seeing in this budget, though, real support for real families. I think one of the really significant things, though, that has been put in, and I notice it's the 3 girls here today, is the changes to the paid parental leave program. That is now 20 weeks, but it is also for families to do what they want. There's been some criticism, and I mean, you expect it from those on the left-wing flanks that somehow that 20 weeks will be taken up by mothers. Well, there's fathers in those families as well, and not everyone just has mum at home. And this will allow families to 10 weeks each, however they want to do it, they can make their own decisions. But it is a boost to families when they are at home with those new babies.
And I really want to talk about the PPL policy, but I just want to pick you up on something. I mean, heading into this election, I know that in 2013, Tony Abbott ran the line, Labor's debt and deficit disaster, but you're heading into an election now where your forecast budget is $78 billion. Debt is nearing $1 trillion.
Yep.
So I guess that's way more than what it was back in 2013. So how can you still prosecute the argument in terms of, the coalition being the more responsible spenders and savers?
Yeah, well, absolutely. I mean, we all remember COVID, unprecedented time. There was very targeted support, which has ensured that the economy's been able to recover and bounce back. We have bounced back as an economy with a AAA credit rating than almost any other country in the world. And in our budget, you will see the way that the debt and deficit is reducing over the forward estimates and over the medium term. And a lot of that is reliant on the fact, or is contributed to, by commodity prices. Now, unlike when Labor baked in artificially high commodity prices, we're seeing iron ore, we're seeing thermal coal, we're seeing gas at incredibly high prices at the moment. But if you actually read the budget, and again, long week, could get the figures wrong, but I think we've got in the budget for coal $55 a tonne. Well, it's actually $130 a tonne at the moment. Same sort of disparity that we've got because we're a Conservative government that isn't going to overinflate that. If those commodity prices stay the same for a sustained period of time, we will see the deficit come down considerably. So all of those things, yes, there has been unprecedented spending, but we weren't going to add to that with $6 billion to pay people to get a jab. We weren't going to go out there and provide free rat tests to every single person. We're not putting childcare policies out there that are going to benefit families on $500,000 a year. We are looking at targeted supports for real families to make sure that those levers are being pulled to better support families, and you cannot do that without a strong economy.
Well, as one economist said.
And the other thing I would like to make a point, though, just sorry on that.
Hi, I'm here.
Hi. Commodity prices. Yeah, I spoke about it in the Senate last night following on from Senator McKim. The night before it was Senator Faruqi. Both of them have made very clear statements about their plan when they hold the balance of power in an Albanese Bant government.
Okay, well, look, I mean,
and both of them are calling for the closing.
A number of issues.
They want coal gone, gas gone, and they want all of these factors gone, and it is those commodities that are going to boost our budget bottom line. So Labor need to tell us what secret deals they're doing, because are we getting rid of the coal? Pat Conroy...
Let's ask Labor. Are you planning a secret deal with the Greens in case there's a hung parliament?
I don't know. There was a lot in that, Hollie. I don't know how to unpick it all, but there was a bit of our budget's going to be fixed if commodity prices keep going. I'm not sure the Treasurer would agree with that being your, hope to get to a surplus position entirely. But anyway... what was your question, Jane?
Look, I want to put to you, Anthony Albanese has ruled it out already, but the Labor Party has ruled out a deal with the Greens should there be a hung parliament.
We are the only party in the parliament that can form government in our own right. The coalition are in and have a secret deal that no one has ever seen with the National Party.
I don't think it's a secret. Everyone calls us the coalition.
It's a secret. They won't tell us.
Everyone knows they're going to get Liberals and Nats. That's not a big deal.
Sure. We don't know what's in the leadership
of that agreement. Like, look at the price of net zero.
But we don't...
we saw that come out in the budget today. There's a cost to that. So I think anyone talking about secret deals, look in your own back garden.
Well, you have to listen to what the Greens are saying in the Senate, and they are very, very confident of their balance of power.
All right, well, they might be very confident, but I guess it's the Labor Party. But look, I really want to bring it back to the budget, and paid parental leave is an issue that I wanted to ask you about. So, as Hollie has said, the government has merged dad and partner pay with paid parental leave to give parents 20 weeks all up to decide how they want to divvy it up. Shadow Treasurer Jim Chalmers said he was inclined to support it. Is this something that you would be willing to support, and do you think it is actually going to be, something that'll help new parents?
Well, I think, Jim's right. We're inclined to support it. We're having a look at it. There's a bit of, obviously it takes a bit of time for people and stakeholders to have a look at this, but largely where it's about more flexibility for people to be able to balance work and family and all of those competing issues, we're inclined to support it. I think there are a view that it might mean that some dads don't take it. I've seen that commentary. I haven't got fully across that. Whether it means that more women will just take the 20 and less dads will take the 2, we need to work through that. But on the surface, it looks like something that we could support.
Now, Labor had previously indicated it would add super payments to paid parental leave if you were to win government. That now appears to be off the table. I'm wondering if Labor's looking at extending paid parental leave beyond the 20 weeks.
Well, we've got this budget now. We've got some final decisions to take in the lead up to the election. We wanted to see the numbers and the budget we would inherit, and we'll make some of those decisions in the next couple of weeks. So I'm not in a position here to go into any more detail on that. But I mean, our approach has been, how can we deal with some of the cost of living pressures now, but lay out a plan for the future, a long-term plan for the future, something this budget didn't do. It was a political fix for the next 6 to 7 weeks, and not a solution about some of the major challenges in our economy going forward, and we're taking a much longer term view on that.
Okay, now we've only got a few minutes left, so hopefully you can stay on track.
Good.
But so look, I mean, we need to get to bullying. It's been, the B word has been bandied about so much this week, and Hollie Hughes, straight up, is Scott Morrison a bully?
No. And I've worked for both Concetta Ferry-Varney-Wells and Scott Morrison. I know them both. And I know which one I'd put in one camp and which I'd put in the other, and I support Scott Morrison all the way.
Are you making an accusation here?
I'm definitely not making an accusation. Right. I may write a book one day.
All right, well tell me now, Concetta Ferry-Varney-Wells, she's obviously lost her pre-selection, so she has an axe to grind in some respects, but it's not the first time we've had a character attack from the Liberal Party on Scott Morrison. So, like, how damaging is this for his re-election prospects?
Well, Concetta Ferry-Varney-Wells didn't have a problem in 2016 when I stepped aside on the Senate ticket to allow her an extra 6 years in Parliament. Now, she never thanked me. She never acknowledged what I did. She never acknowledged Scott or Malcolm for the conversations that I had with them. I had won a pre-selection, fair and square. She was relegated to a position under me. She was very happy to take their intervention, their support, when I stood aside for the betterment of the party to ensure that the minister of the day was on a winnable position on the ticket. She was very happy for that to occur. Now, would she have made that speech had she won the pre-selection on Saturday? Absolutely not. So she's happy when it goes in her favour, and we've seen how she's behaved when it hasn't. How you depart this place very often is a sign of how you'll be remembered. And I'm not quite sure dignity and grace will be 2 words that follow her out the door. But I will say, it's amazing that the left-wing women supporters against bullying, they're back. The deathly silence we heard from Grace Tame and all the rest of them over Kimberley Kitching, and now they're back because they've got another Conservative they can belt up.
So you're saying there's different treatment depending on who the bullying allegation is levelled against?
Of course there is, and that became incredibly apparent with what happened to Kimberley. It was apparent with what was happening with Nicole Flynn, and now they've got another bastion that they can jump behind and call out bullying and get into the Conservative men. If everyone can't see their blatant hypocrisy, well, go get your eyes checked because it's totally on show.
Do you think there is some hypocrisy there about the way commentators look at bullying claims depending on which party it's being directed at?
Well, having been someone who's been the subject of that a lot in the last 3 weeks, I would say there's a lot of commentary on both sides of politics. I don't think it's a left-right thing. I think depending on where it's coming from, you know, you do get more, it's more vocal from certain areas than others. But, you know, I think in relation to the criticism that's been made of the Prime Minister, I think that's for whoever's saying it to you know, stand up to that and explain it. I think our and my criticism of the Prime Minister has been about his style of leadership and failure to take responsibility, failure to plan, failure to respond in a crisis in the right time, or his, you know, liking to, you know, make it someone else's fault. That's largely the criticism we have of him as a leader, and that's not the type of leader Anthony Albanese would be.
All right, Katy Gallagher, Hollie Hughes.